So Thomas, thank you so much for joining us today. It's really great to be here with you.
Pleasure.
And I'm very much looking forward to hearing more about the SESAR solutions you implement, and very specifically the Heron project.
Excellent. Well, the Heron project is actually part of the highly efficient green operations, which is one of the digital sky demonstrators led by Airbus. It's a consortium or a group of 26 different entities together on this particular project with airports, ANSPs and airlines who are all participating in the development of this project. It's for us a really important project which actually aims to carry out a number of different demonstrations to reduce noise, flight delays, CO2 emissions and, well, ideally fuel consumptions too. And in the end to reduce the impact that flights will have on the communities around us.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. So as a member of the SESAR joint undertaking, like you said, Brussels Airport is looking at innovative ways to improve efficiency in the skies and reduce the environmental footprint of aviation in general. So on the 1st of October, Brussels Airport and the Belgian air navigation service provider Skies commenced demonstration flights as part of the SESAR joint undertaking Heron Digital Sky Demonstrator. Yep. So can you tell me more about how this project came about and what makes it so innovative?
Well, so this project is really a collaboration between the ANSP, the airport, and so the ANSP Skies, the airport here, Brussels Airport, and a number of different airlines who are participating in this. So to start with, it's a collaboration which needs to be done. The demonstration really is going to look to reduce our environmental impacts in terms of noise and in terms of NOx emissions on the communities that are around us. So that's a really important point. We really want to make sure through this project that, well, test through this project how aircraft flying at lower speeds at steeper angles of approach will be able to have a lower impact on the communities around us, in particular from a noise perspective. Of course, noise is always one of the big concerns that we have as an airport operator, to try and reduce the impact that we have on the communities around us is a key objective. The innovation in this particular project is that we actually end up with two different glide slopes. So traditionally, the regular rate of approach or slope of approach is a 3-degree slope. Here with this project, we will have a 3.2 and a 3.5 at the highest degree slope, which means the aircraft will be coming in steeper and approaching the airport higher over the different communities which are below us or around the airport below that flight path. So the fact that the aircraft are higher and at a steeper angle means they will reduce their speed and the impact on the, again, noise and emissions as they come into the airport here. Okay, so the steeper angle, less noise, less emissions. Okay. And I think probably one element to point out is that this is the first time that it's been conducted in a multi-runway complex environment. There have been tests of this type which have been done in other airports. But of course, Brussels Airport using 2 parallel runways in our operations. We don't do approaches in parallel, but we do have approaches and departures on both runways. The configuration that we use for this trial is on actually both runways that we use. So it's that complexity that we're testing also to be able to determine how successful this is going to be. That's great. So you're really kind of pioneers with this project in many ways. So of all of the many SESAR solutions that are available, what was it about Heron? And I guess most importantly, how did you convince the stakeholders and the change makers at Brussels Airport of its value? Well, I think the key thing about Heron is really this environmental impact reduction. For us, it's part of actually our strategy is it's sustainability as a whole and the reduction of the impact that we have on the communities around us, as I've said. And so taking that as a driver to making this change for us was a really interesting component. Convincing the stakeholders in this particular context isn't really too complicated, because the community here, the airports community, skies, our ANSP, are very much committed to reducing our impact again on the communities around us.
So can you give us some insight into the logistics of the tests? I imagine that they're quite complex. How do you ensure the safety of steeper landing angles, and what exactly are you going to measure during the test period?
So those are some good questions. So the challenge, of course, of any of these types of innovative approaches is doing the right evaluations that we need to do from a safety case perspective, and getting the authorizations from the Civil Aviation Authority. So the first step in this process was for both Brussels Airport Company and the ANSP Skies to do their safety cases, and then to collaborate on a joint safety case, which was then presented to the Belgian CAA for approval. That was really the fundamental element, just to maintain the safety of the operation. Now, these types of approach angles actually exist in normal operations at other airports. In particular, mountainous terrain airports have steep approaches, as they're called, but they require specific flight procedures from the aircraft and certifications or qualifications for the pilots. So there's a number of training exercises that were done for the pilots in flight simulators to bring them up to the right level. Of course, before any of this was implemented in real operations on the 1st of October, there were a number of flight simulations that were done with the pilots in live simulated operations, of course, where everything is tested and verified to make sure that it's going to be possible. Finally, we have, of course, done many briefings for the ATCOs, many briefings for the air traffic controllers, many briefings for the pilots, just to be able to make sure that everybody is aware of what we're trying to do here. And that's really sort of, again, that community engagement on making this work successfully. In terms of what we are going to be measuring, of course, noise impact is the key element, because, like I was saying, these higher slopes will allow us to be able to have reduce the noise on the community around us. The fuel impact, the reduction in emissions, and the reduction in fuel burn, which is the approach 2, and then the overall flight efficiency to see how the flow can be improved into and out of the airport as we operate through this.
That's great. So the impression I get is that it's really a variety of people that are all coming together to really make this a success, right from the pilots doing the training to the team on the ground, and you're measuring a whole host of things too. So it sounds like a complex but really exciting project. So steeper landing angles are just one of the ways that the Heron is looking into developing more efficient airport operations, both in the air and on the ground. Mm-hmm. So Heron actually offers multiple solutions addressing all flight phases. So can you let us know a bit more about any other SESAR solutions that you are currently implementing? And can you tell us how they're improving your operations?
Mm-hmm. Well, Brussels Airport has actually been involved in SESAR deployment since 2014, so quite some time. And we've actually been kind of leading in several different solutions that we've worked on over the years. The Airport Operations Center is one of the key ones. That the APOC, as we call it, is a key development, which is one of the SESAR solutions, which has been implemented, and we're in a continuous improvement cycle on the APOC to be able to really build up a better level of collaboration and resilience within our operations. The EAOP, or the extended AOP, is one of the future solutions we're looking at, whereas now we've already implemented the initial AOP, so that's the Airport Operations Plan, which is really a rolling operations plan, bringing together all the data and information which is needed to run the airport on a daily basis. And this provides us with a pathway for improvements in terms of efficiency, in terms of how we run the operation on a daily basis, and best use of capacity overall within our airport system. Now, we've also deployed a number of other solutions over the years, vehicle tracking, for example, which allows us to be able to identify the different vehicles on the airside from a safety perspective, very important. And we're involved in other more trial type of solutions, for example, multimodal combination type operations, which we're looking at also.
It really sounds like Brussels Airport is right at the forefront of innovation, and
well, we're quite committed to making these changes, and the SESAR approach with the different solutions which are identified for us are very important, as it's really that innovation and future looking in terms of how we run our operations, which is key.
I think it's really great to hear just how much being a member of the SESAR joint undertaking can really help airports bring that innovation that they want to life. So you've kind of covered this, but can you give us a sneak peek of any future SESAR solutions that you're looking to implement?
So for me, the most interesting one is actually the Extended Airport Operations Plan, the EAOP as it's called, and the integration that that's going to have with the network. So the AOP itself is a rolling operations plan which allows us to be able to manage our operation in the most efficient way. The extended AOP is actually bringing in additional data types, for example, weather elements which potentially can disrupt the operation, which will allow us then to be able to anticipate those better and have a more predictive operation overall, or predictable and smooth operation overall, I'd say. It's also going to be a solution which will help us be more resilient and be able to come back from any disruption in a faster way. We, as Brussels Airport, are actually leading a consortium of 20 or so airports today, which are working together on the future of this solution and looking to be able to implement that across a range of different airports. So it's really, that to me is the forefront in terms of where we're trying to go. Of course, we're still looking at some other solutions, for example, the usage of onboard moving maps for our vehicles on the airside, as this from a situational awareness is really important for the guys who are out there in the field, especially in low visibility operations or snow operations, as we had here in Brussels last week, as well as other digitalization type of projects in the context of SWIM, which are useful also in terms of the connectivity that we can provide.
I think it's really interesting how you don't just implement what is a very innovative solution, but you're constantly looking at improving it.
Mm-hmm. And for us, that's key. Is continuous improvement is really one of the fundamentals that we have built into our way of operating. It is to look at how these solutions will support us from an operating model perspective, but then also to look at how we can develop them and improve them for the future to be able to run our operations better and more efficiently.
Yeah, that's great. So on a more personal note, I'd like to ask you about your own journey with aviation. So I know that you've been in the industry for a long time, and you've even spent some time with ACI.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would like to ask, what is your fondest memory in aviation?
That's a tricky question. Well, I've been around, let's say, the airport activities for more than 20 years now, and actually spent 2 different periods of time with ACI, once when ACI World was based in Geneva, and more recently when ACI World was based in, or is based in Montreal, and have many memories, I'd say fond memories from all of those 20 years, more than 20 years that I've been involved in operations. To me, some of the more interesting elements, I'd say, are really the operational situations that you have to deal with on a daily basis, as that's where the excitement and the passion that we see in aviation comes from. And I see that in colleagues in all airports around the world, is the operational people have that passion because of the so-called fun that we get to live through when we get into challenging situations. But I also have, I'd say, a soft spot for some of the more strategic initiatives that I was able to lead in my time at ACI World, around, for example, decarbonization, or some of the activities on the workforce challenges that we have as an aviation industry today, and how we can actually create a more attractive and interesting environment for for people to be working in the future, currently and in the future, as we need young talented people and we need to retain the people who are in our industry now. So for me those are some key elements, but there's so many anecdotes and events that I've lived through over the years that picking one specific one out is always a bit of a challenge.
It's true. I think the aviation community is really a family.
Yeah,
and,
it really is.
And a family that hopefully in the future will grow even bigger.
And we keep bringing people into it, which is important, and keep the level of interest going. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So I have just one last question to ask you to wrap up this interview. So really going back to Heron. How do you think this project demonstrates the value of being a SESAR joint undertaking member? And where do you hope that your membership as part of SESAR will go in the future?
Mm-hmm. Well, as an airport, what we do is connect people, businesses, and the communities around us to provide them with the possibility of mobility and with prosperity, economic prosperity. That's what we aim to do. Of course, our operations and what we do as again an airport community has an impact on those communities around us, even though we bring great value to the environment around us. And so we have to balance between the economic benefit that we bring and the environmental impact that we have. And so this type of project is typically the type of project which fits really well into our Shift 2027 strategy, which has as a third pillar sustainability as a leading element. And so finding solutions like this which allow us to be able to actually work with the different stakeholders involved in the operations, so the ANSP, the airlines, and us as the airport operator, to let's say move the needle and really have a positive impact on that environmental sustainability component is particularly important. Now, of course, the SESAR joint undertaking and the way that these projects are deployed is critical. Having the opportunity to be able to lead some of these developments at an industry level, having the opportunity to benefit from the funding for us is really critical. And we need to be able to keep collaborating with all the different stakeholders to be able to drive these changes together.
Thank you, Thomas. It's really great to hear just how valuable it is to be a member of the SESAR joint undertaking, and I personally look forward to seeing where your collaboration with them goes in the future. So,
Excellent.
thank you for your time today, and
yep, pleasure.
Thank you.